Hi, I'm Justin Josie, and this is my presentation comparing and contrasting Ford versus Tesla. So Ford sticks to a more customer intimacy value discipline. They've limited their product lines in North America specifically to cut back on their sedans and focus more on their F-series of pickup trucks and their SUVs. Specifically, their F-series of pickup trucks are the best-selling cars in the world. So that's been quite effective for them, but you see that they're cutting back more. Tesla, on the other hand, is more focused on product leadership, and they're actually really expanding their lines of cars. They've started out at a higher price point, and now they're going down to try and decrease production costs and try to decrease their prices as well and make more affordable models. They're also product leadership focused because they offer features that no other company offers. I'll talk more about the autopilots, and just being fully electric vehicles really sets them apart. Whereas Ford has been able to keep up their sales by focusing on what they already do best. They've been making little improvements, but also mostly focusing on their lines of trucks and SUVs that have been very successful in the past. Tesla also reinvests its profits into innovation, whereas Ford is more focused on showing shareholders that they are making revenue and they are making a profit. And of course, they reinvest it, but Tesla actually has yet to show a profit. They've been taking losses every year, and that's because they're reinvesting the revenue they make into their new lines of products. So for market segmentation, Ford segments their market by geographic, like location. Obviously, I said in North America, they're not offering their sedans other than the Ford Focus and Mustang. But in Europe and Asia, they continue to offer new lines of sedans, and they have cut back on the amount of SUVs, and their pickup trucks are really not as popular there either, just because of the two different geographic locations and their preferences. This is a little different from Tesla in that they have the same offerings in every country that they're present in, and that they're not really as much of a global company in the way that Ford is, because they're not as well established. They also segment their market by income. Ford and Tesla both do this, but Ford actually does it with a different brand. They use their Lincoln brand to target more upper class or higher income individuals, and for the premium cars, and they use Ford as a more maybe lower class, but more affordable price car. Tesla has a smaller market segment than Ford because they don't have as many lines of products, but they use the same name and same branding for each one of them. Of course, they're all pretty much premium cars at this point, so they focus on higher income areas. And then psychographically, they're focusing on people who care about the environment, which Ford isn't really doing because they don't have fully electric vehicles and they don't have the brand image that Tesla has. So as for loyalty, Ford again focuses on their F-series of pickup trucks. They've been able to keep their sales up really by commercial use, something that Tesla obviously doesn't do because commercial use for Teslas isn't really the same. You know, on like a construction site or something, they won't be selling to construction companies or people that need to move or tow things because they only have their one line of Tesla vehicles. They've also been expanding features. Tesla and Ford both do this, expanding the features of their existing products. Tesla does it in a little different way because they do have the automatic updates, so they can over the air add features to their cars and treat their cars more like software than Ford does, because you would of course have to take your Ford car into a dealership to get the latest features. As we talked about their electric vehicles, they do breed loyalty, especially because about 64% of people that drive an electric vehicle, regardless of brand, will buy another electric vehicle. That goes all the way up to 86% for Tesla owners. One, the electric vehicle experience is better and it helps you keep customers. And two, you feel like you're making a statement with the Tesla. Again, environmentally conscious people want to drive a Tesla. And they can really think of their enemies as combustion engines. So companies like Ford, they believe that they're their enemies, and it kind of brings them together and keeps their customer intimacy. So for AI and big data, Ford is using AI and big data more in their car diagnostic features. One of the main ways that they've implemented AI into their actual cars is with emergency automatic braking. So if you are about to hit something, Ford will automatically brake for you. Other than that, though, in comparison to Tesla, they don't have nearly as many car features that are actually utilizing AI. But they have been able to use it in their production process, much like Tesla has. Maybe to a lesser extent, though. They've places where people used to look at seats to detect flaws in the seats or wrinkles in their assembly line, they've replaced with cameras and automation. Tesla actually has a fully autonomous assembly line, whereas Ford doesn't have full autonomy, but they're embracing it more and more to make their manufacturing cheaper. So Tesla, a big deal for Tesla is collecting data from all their cars and sending it into the cloud. They've been able to use that to refine their self-driving technology and look for problems with their cars, actually. And then again, they use a fully autonomous manufacturing process to cut costs, which is very different from most automobile manufacturers. So as far as autonomous vehicles, this is an issue that I wanted to analyze for both because it seems inevitable at this point that autonomous vehicles are going to exist. Ford wants to have a line of fully autonomous vehicles in 2021. The only caveat is that they will be geofenced only to certain highways that have been well tested by Ford. So in a way, their autopilot might be better than Tesla's in that they've been tested extensively on the roads that they'll be driving on, but also it's a more conservative approach that might not pay off for them because they can't iterate it as quickly as Tesla can, where Tesla already has their autopilot out there, they're refining it, they're allowing it to make mistakes, and then they're updating it based on that. Ford is taking a more conservative approach where they're trying to perfect it before they release it and only releasing it in certain areas. So again, because of that, I think Tesla will be the first to actually have a more fully autonomous vehicle because they're already getting that data and they're already refining it and updating their vehicles, whereas Ford is going at a much slower pace. So digital maturity. Ford's organizational structure, especially up until 2017 when they removed their old CEO and replaced him, it had a lack of flexibility. It was a really rigid hierarchical structure, which of course doesn't allow for much cross-functional teams or innovation because different parts of the company aren't really talking to each other, especially because they're a global company, so it can be hard to coordinate that. And again, Ford is really risk averse, which is not going to help them attract top digital talent because many people want to feel like they're innovating and working on the cutting edge. Tesla, on the other hand, of course, is innovating. They have fast iteration due to those automatic updates, which are really important because that's different from most automobile manufacturers, Ford included. And they also have the location in Silicon Valley. I wanted to point that out because I think it helps attract top digital talent in that they want to work in Silicon Valley, and there is a lot of digital talent there to begin with. So in conclusion, Tesla has a more innovative mindset, which helps them in a lot of ways. It helps them use kind of software best practices to innovate. They iterate quickly, they fail fast, but then they can update their cars over the air, whereas Ford is just iterating on new models, or you have to take your car to a dealership, which is much slower. They're forward-thinking, they encourage people to think outside the box, and that's also allowing them to attract more digital talent and more top talent to their company to increase the cycle of innovation. Tesla also has a better company image than Ford, so they have more of a social media presence, and I think that's underestimated and very important. You know, a character like Elon Musk at the helm is really helping them push out the type of world view that they have for the future and how they're helping the world and why you should believe in the Tesla brand. They both target a small market segment, which I think is also increasingly important. You know, Ford cut back to be targeting a smaller market segment, but Tesla started out with a smaller market segment, and they've both been refining and adding features based on those small market segments. So I think that's an important takeaway too, is that in this day and age, you really want to focus on a smaller market segment and having a more refined product, at least in the automobile industry, rather than having many lines of products that could be kind of half-baked or have less features and can't keep up with your competitors. Thank you.